All
All
right.
right. Hey, Emily. I'm so excited we got to meet today and kind of talk through some of the concerns that you're having with your classroom. So the platform is yours. I would love to just hear about those concerns that you're having.
Yeah. Thank you again for meeting with me. I appreciate that. There's just a couple things I would like to, just maybe a little bit of help or guidance. I am still a fairly new teacher, so any help I can get, I'm welcoming it. But one thing is like with behavior. I've noticed that since COVID, but I've also noticed just in my 3 years of experience, motivation is a hard thing, but also behavior. How do you get that one student that is constantly a disruption to their learning and also everybody else in the classroom? And how do you kind of how do you go about with trying to de-escalate those behaviors from getting anything where it becomes too much, where admin has to get called or anything like that? A lot of times I've been told that if you can kind of keep the situation contained in your room, it keeps the power, the control in your hands versus getting someone else to come help you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I definitely have had some similar experiences that you've had also just with the motivation. And although I have not taught middle school, I do have 1 year of fourth grade under my belt. So that's the closest I've gotten to middle school. But there can definitely be a lot of that like apathy, I feel like, towards school and just like, kind of seeing a disconnect between like, okay, what does this have to do with me and like my life and like, why is this important, and just kind of that attitude. So I do have a few resources that I looked into, and just to like get my brain like straight, you do have, like, from what I remember, middle school, like you just teach multiple periods throughout the day, right?
Yes, yes. So
Okay.
I teach nothing but social studies 4 times a day. So it's the same. It's a little bit different depending on the class and their the students and there's needs in that class. But for the main part, the content's the same. Typically, the lessons that I do are very similar. Now, it may be that we do, something that's tailored to the needs of the dynamics of the class versus another class. If I have a higher achieving class, whatever it may be.
So one thing that I thought about that, it might work with the middle schoolers. If you could give it a try, would be, I know for me, I start my class every day off with like a morning meeting type thing, and it's more like social emotional learning. But I was thinking maybe you could start it off with like just like an inspirational video or like quote or like something, and like hold some discussion around like that for motivation. So like even this short 3-minute video, I won't play the whole thing, but just, I don't know if you can hear it. Oh, let me make sure you can hear it.
I'll say, if not, you do have the captions. I
Yes.
can.
Balance can come later. Use your imagination.
But these
Put pen to
videos
paper.
that kind of like hype them up
Declare your
and like
intentions.
get them starting to
Set
feel that
small
like
goals.
inspiration or motivation to
Knock them
like
off.
put in the
Set more goals.
effort and like put in the work to, do like what they need to do. Because honestly, I feel like in middle school you can have those more grown conversations as to like why like you need to be doing, why you need to be reading your work and participation and all of that. And then another great thing I kind of thought about was maybe student goal setting. So
Okay.
I don't know if that's something that you've implemented, or
I know.
or have thought about.
Yeah, no, you're good. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I know that we did a lot of SEL lessons this past school year, just with everything with COVID, and so our guidance counselors did a good job on providing us with the resources to teach, and have these lessons. And we actually took the last 30 minutes of every class period, one day a week, to focus on a different, whether it be goal setting, whether it be, trying to find the positives in situations, whether it be focusing on anything that, would be pertinent to the student and their overall health, their overall well-being.
Yeah.
We tried to incorporate some of this, but I do like what you've shared about starting the class off with an inspirational, short clip or maybe a quote on the board or something. I do like that idea. I will definitely try and implement that this next school year.
Yeah, and then I also found this for goal setting, and I thought this was an awesome resource. It's about 5 ways to help students focus on goals. So just really like trying to foster a growth mindset with them and like celebrating those small wins. If you have that one kid that sits in the back and never wants to do a thing, if he decides to, ask a question one day, just like celebrating, giving that praise and like things like that, having them use individual goal sheets. So that's something I do with my little ones. It's much more picturesque and visual, friendly, but
Right.
you can kind of tailor it to 6th graders. But just having them think of academic goals or behavior goals or whatever kind of goals that is important to them. And then again, just I give out too many rewards sometimes, but it does, it helps. They'll work for those rewards. So I definitely think that, just and celebrating those small wins, having them jot down their own success notes, having them chart their goal, and then, at the end, like reflecting on their learning journey. So I found this to be helpful when thinking about the conflict that you're having in your classroom, and it even like kind of brought attention to some things that I want to do too in my classroom.
Right.
Just a nice refresher to
yes. Yeah, and I will, like I said, I will definitely. This is a good starting point, a good focus point to start looking into to help try to minimize some of those behaviors and promote, motivation and dedication and things like that in my classroom. So I do appreciate that. So, and thank you for sharing these sources as well.
Yep, I'll send those over to you. And then I know the second one was kind of that content area that you were struggling with. Do you want to tell me more about that?
Yeah, so in social studies in 6th grade at my school, we don't necessarily have like a updated textbook or a great resource to use. Now I know that there's a lot of things online, but sometimes the things that we use, for instance, I do a lot of on Teachers Pay Teachers, go in and buy like the brain pop activities or slideshows, and I really like those because they're easy to follow. They're easy for the kids to follow as well. And they have a lot of different activities. However, the setup of them is like the same thing. It's just new material or new information. And I've noticed that after about 2 to 3 months of strict brain pops, and that's our way of notes, kids start to shut down. They start to, be disengaged and not interested in the lesson. And that is when a lot of times those off-task behaviors happen. So
I can see that connection there.
Yeah.
That's that. I use Teachers Pay Teachers too, so I definitely love Teachers Pay Teachers, but sometimes things can get repetitive and like you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm all out of resources and ideas. So I did a little bit of research, and I did find another really cool article, and it's by Teaching is the Sweetest Things, and it's 8 simple ways to make social studies lesson more interesting. And I love like the simplicity of a lot of these ideas. So the first one was take inventory, and this was so awesome. I tried to send a copy to myself. I'm still waiting on it, but once I get that, I want to send it to you.
Yes.
I think this is so cool, but it's just like, and you can implement this at the beginning of the year or, anytime, but it's just an inventory that you can give the students so you can learn more about like how they like to learn about social studies.
Right.
I thought this was super cool. And then you can kind of see like what your class, the majority of, if the majority of them like group projects or centers rotations, and then you can kind of go from there and look into more activities and assignments for them based on what they like. So I thought that was a super cool strategy to use.
Yeah, I really like that.
And then I liked this too, just like engaging all the sentences, using lots of visuals, which it sounds like you already do with slideshows and things like that, but also incorporating music, like whether you're, if you're studying a certain time period, incorporating music from that time period, or speeches, things like that. Doing like a dance, if you're learning about the Roaring 20s, teaching your students like, the popular Charleston dance, it says. So I thought that was cool, just thinking about using all their senses to really like get them engaged, and connecting with literature, getting technology involved, which I think in 2022 we do quite a bit of. So,
Right.
making it personal. I thought these were really good. And then finding the funny, weird, and surprising. I think kids just love like those like crazy off the wall facts, like that's like definitely gets that student buy-in that we want, as well. Keeping it real, and then bridging the past and the present. So I thought these were all some good strategies to use. Do you feel like you could see yourself using some of these in the classroom?
Yes, especially things off of this website, because we talk about, it mentioned something with the Cold War, and then it talked about Australia, and those are actually topics that we discuss in 6th grade. So I definitely will take a look at this website for sure, to look at those ideas. I do like that. That's really neat.
Well, I will definitely share this resource with you as well. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen real quick.
Okay.
Okay. So how do you feel about the resources that I shared, and you said you could use some of them going forward?
Yes, I definitely think that they would be successful resources and things to look into to help with, not only my teaching, but also student engagement and motivation. So I appreciate you doing that research, finding these for me, and I thank you for that. So
thank you for being willing to listen to what I have to offer, and using them in the future. So
yes, thank you.